The Trinity crash incident is a relatively new UFO case discovered by Jacques Vallee, the famous ufologist and scientist. This culminated in the publishing of a book on the subject by Vallee, and he is currently on many online interviews discussing the details of his find. Many will be aware that Dr. Vallee was the student and protege of Dr. J. Allen Hynek, the foremost expert on the UFO phenomenon, who was chosen to lead the Blue Book investigations. He left once he determined that the phenomenon was real and that the U.S. government was intentionally misleading the public as to its authenticity. When the facts of the Trinity case are fully dissected and examined, there are a multitude of strange cross-connections to other bits of intelligence that we have accumulated over time. These facts are presented here, and some constitute anomalies that, when analyzed, may provide further glimpses into the true nature of the phenomenon itself, including the paranormal aspects now identified by the Pentagon as the hitchhiker effect. The crash occurred 20 days and 20 miles from ground zero at the Trinity test site. The Trinity crash differs from Roswell, Socorro, and even Cape Girardeau, Missouri, in that there were eyewitnesses to the crash taking place who were able to respond in a very quick manner. The two principal witnesses were 7 and 9 years old at the time and were the son of the landowner and the son's friend, Remy Baca. Jose Padilla, identified by Vallee as the principal witness, is still alive today and recalls the entire incident with crystal clarity at the age of 86. The craft left a half-mile long, 5 to 6 foot deep trough and resulted in damage, opening the interior of the ship to the outside. The Army was also on scene almost immediately as the craft apparently collided with and damaged a communications tower. This led to a pilot responding to the location of the tower, where he witnessed the downed craft as well as the two boys on horseback. The two witnesses on the ground reported seeing 3 creatures who were in apparent panic state and moving around the inside of the craft, but never stepping outside. The 2 witnesses, Baca and Padilla, described the beings as looking around 3 foot tall, humanoid, but also described certain features of the beings with a Spanish term, campa mancha, or praying mantis-like. When pushed on this description, they said that the aliens appeared human-like, but certain aspects appeared insectoid in nature. This led the boys to fear the creatures and is why they did not offer to render aid, but instead retreated to the Padilla homestead to inform Jose's father of the incident. The recovery operation by the Army took 10 days and was fully witnessed by both boys, who were tasked each day with watching the herd on horseback. Because of this, the record of the incident is quite detailed. At this point in the brief, I want to discuss the APA present, or the asymmetric pattern analysis. This is where our intelligence briefs differ from other analysis out there on the web. It is in the APA that we can begin to dissect the incident further into constituent parts to be examined. The number of crosslinks with this now seminal case are numerous and will take a bit to explain. Number 1, the nuclear connection is clear here and has run parallel to the phenomenon as far as we have been able to observe the phenomenon in modern times. This nuclear connection extends to the Nimitz and other Navy vessels who were having ongoing encounters, to these craft disarming our nuclear missiles on a number of occasions and locations over the past 70 years. We now believe this nuclear connection may extend into the ancient past by way of a naturally occurring nuclear reactor that was discovered in Africa and dates to 1.2 billion years ago. The country Botswana is of particular interest in this pattern. Number 2, 3 of these downed craft, 2 crashed and 1 not crashed at Socorro, were all described as avocado or egg-shaped, strongly indicating a common origin. Not until 1947, with Kenneth Arnold, did the descriptions of saucer-shaped craft begin to appear. In all 3 instances, the beings are described in identical fashion, being 3 feet tall, humanoid and clothed in tight-fitting uniforms of some kind. In the Roswell case, it was a type of metal mesh that they equated to a blackout suit worn by our pilots. Number 3, a FBI memo released under FOIA has some shocking claims regarding these craft and the nuclear connection. If the information in this memo is correct, then it would go a long way to explaining how these craft are able to perform maneuvers which defy our understanding of physics. The memo is included here. Basically, it says that when we detonated the bomb at Trinity, we damaged another world that exists on another plane of existence they describe as etheric. It claims these visitors or aliens came through a hole in dimensions caused by the blast, that they have automatically or will automatically materialize upon entering the dense vibratory rate of our plane. It also states that they plan to colonize this planet. Could this be the origin of the alien abduction phenomenon? Do they need to craft biological containers or bodies for themselves to exist on this plane? This line of logical thinking extends deeply down the rabbit hole. Could it be that this is why they feel so entitled to do what they are doing? Is it the ultimate motive?
An interesting cross-connection is, of course, the Socorro landing incident witnessed by Lonnie Zamora. This case is famous in ufology and presents us with yet another invaluable insight. In the Socorro case, the craft had a symbol on it. An artist rendering of the craft, the beings and the symbol are pictured here. Also, the craft left deep physical trace evidence, indicating the heavy weight of the ship. The beings match descriptions given in the other major downed UFO cases, like Roswell and Trinity, and Socorro is 8 miles from the Trinity test site. An interesting side note, which may be of consequence, is that the Trinity bomb was tested at ground level. The actual bombs used on Japan were detonated at 2,000 feet to maximize downward damage. Radiation is not the main focus of these weapons, it's just an after effect. Could it be that testing at this site at ground level be what caused the supposed damage on their world? One other crucial observation can be made here. In both the Socorro and Trinity cases, the creatures were seen breathing our air. Let me repeat that. These creatures did not have breathing apparatus. In all 3 cases, they appeared to be able to breathe and process our air. That is a clue of enormous proportions when it is contemplated deeply enough. Here's where things really take a turn for the high strange category. This aspect of the phenomenon appears time and again. It is always something which should not be there, something incongruent with the phenomenon as a whole as we are perceptualizing it. In the Trinity case, it is an object that Jose Padilla was able to take from the craft. The 2 witnesses returned with Jose Padilla's father and a policeman who then entered the craft. The beings were not present upon returning to the site. It is unknown what became of them. Vallee thinks that because an Army pilot witnessed the scene right away, that the Army was able to retrieve the aliens from the craft. The Army had to build a road into the object and load it onto a truck that was later identified by Vallee of being the kind that could carry up to 4 tons. The craft appeared to be around 15 feet wide and was avocado-shaped. When it was loaded on the Army truck, the witnesses were able to see the undercarriage and saw a cavity approximately 5 to 6 feet long and 2 feet deep. This was the only visible area where a propulsion system could have been located, and yet the cavity was empty. Jose Padilla had opportunity to enter the craft and pull off a metal object from the wall. This object was not shown or told to anyone. He and Remy Baca buried it in an old shed on the property as a souvenir. This is where an odd occurrence happens. Some weeks later, a sheep herder who worked for the family and stayed in the old shed from time to time, reported having been woken up one night by small alien beings who he thought were threatening. They indicated they were looking for something. The shepherd did not know that the device had been buried in the floor of the shed. The old shepherd grabbed his gun, and that is when the creatures reportedly disappeared. The incident was so disturbing that the shepherd never returned to work for the family again. The very strange part about that, as if it weren't strange enough, is that Jacques Vallee now has possession of the object, being described as a bracket by him and others. This bracket has been studied extensively by the best laboratories in the world, and the determination is that it is human in origin. That's right. It's made of an aluminum alloy that we humans created, and of the same kind that was being used in that era. How is that for weird? Why would aliens return for an object that was human in origin? Also, the children found thousands of strands or fibers all over the ground around the crash site that glowed in different colors in the dark. They ended up using it as Christmas decorations, and Sabrina Padilla, the sister of Jose, reports that if you handled the fibers too long, your hands would begin to hurt. The location of these fibers today is unknown, but may be in the possession of Jacques Vallee, and he just isn't saying so. One final note on the Trinity file. Vallee's investigation was being tampered with by intelligence agents. That would not only indicate its validity, but also that the craft is in fact in their possession. Otherwise, why go to the effort of attempting to undermine the investigation? All I have for you guys tonight. Join me Thursday, 7 p.m. Central Time, Paranormal Planet Live. I will see you then.